Welcome to our program, RTL. Today we will be talking about the radical and anarchist point on the political spectrum. Radical and anarchist leaders are very strong and they have been around for many years.
Some strengths that they have are they have large groups and wide variety of followers. Radicals and anarchists take more extreme measures in order to prove their political points. This makes them different from other political spectrum points, such as moderates, who do not use such an extreme approach.
The next individual we will be talking about is Malcolm X. Malcolm X was an African-American political and religious leader in the Civil Rights era. Malcolm X was born in 1925 and he died in 1965. He was assassinated. A quote from CNN.com says, "He, Malcolm X, kept shouting the painful truths we whites and blacks did not want to hear from all the housetops, and he wouldn't stop for love nor money." The next individual we will be talking about is Joseph Stalin. Stalin was born in 1878 and he died in 1953. Stalin married Cato Cervantes in 1906. The couple had one son, Yakov, who lived from 1907 to 1943. Yakov died as a prisoner in Germany during World War II. Stalin was born into an impoverished family and he got involved in revolutionary politics and criminal activities as a young man. Stalin sent many people to labor camps and prisons. He did this to many European countries, and his way of doing things was very similar to Hitler's. He killed approximately 2 million people. Stalin was born.
The next individual that we'll be talking about is Rosa Luxemburg. Rosa Luxemburg played a key role in founding the Polish Social Democratic Party and Spartacus League. She settled in Berlin to work with the Social Democratic Party of Germany, and she stresses the needs of workers and society's disadvantages. She went to Warsaw, Russia during the time of the Russian Revolution of 1905 and said that this revolution would radicalize the workers and make the revolution become bigger. She characterized by intense internal conflicts between revisionists and Orthodox Marxists. Orthodox Marxists were free elections and civil rights could not create a fully socialist society. She advocated of mass action. She was spontaneous and criticized others if they didn't believe what she wants. She spent most of World War I in prison, where she founded the October Revolution as the start of a world revolution. She was one of the first socialists to revise Karl Marx's beliefs and theories and abandoning the future's ideas of capitalist economies. During her prison time in World War I, from 1914 to 1918, she focused on anti-war activities and political speakings, and she was released for a short period of time in 1916. During time out of jail, she developed the Spartacus Party and the revolutionary wing of the Social Democratic Party. Rosa Luxemburg played a key role in politics in Russia and was the very first active women in politics in Europe.
The next person we will be talking about is Vladimir Lenin. As a young man, he began to develop radical or extreme political views in disagreement with the existing Russian form of government. At the time, Russia was ruled by emperors known as czars. Lenin's views were fueled by the hanging of his older brother Alexander in 1887, after Alexander and others plotted to kill the czar. In 1893, Lenin moved to St. Petersburg, Russia. By this time, he was already a Marxist, an admirer of the German writer Karl Marx. Marx had believed in an international revolution of the poor and lower-class workers who would lead the way to a new system of power. In 1893, Lenin had also become a revolutionary by profession. He wrote controversial papers and articles and tried to organize workers. He spent most of the next 17 years in Europe, moving from one country to another frequently. A Marxist movement had developed in Russia during the last decade of the 19th century. They aimed for a revolution that would transform Russia into a democratic republic. Lenin's writing and work focused on the role of groups of lower-class workers as promoters of this revolution. Lenin stressed the role of intellectuals who would provide the movement with the theories that would guide the revolution's progress. In 1905, the uprising now known as the Revolution of 1905 occurred in Russia. Lenin managed to return to Russia only in November, when the defeat of the revolution was practically certain. He was among the last to give up. What we'll be discussing is the Unabomber. He was born on May 22, 1942 in Chicago, Illinois. In 1958, 16-year-old Ted Kaczynski entered Harvard University on a scholarship. He graduated Harvard in 1962 and continued his studies at the University of Michigan. He taught classes there and worked on his dissertation, which was widely praised. He taught math at the University of California at Berkeley. He had a hard time delivering his lectures and often avoided contact with his students. He retreated to a survivalist lifestyle in the Montana woods. Over the years, he developed his own anti-government and anti-technology philosophy. 1978 and 1995, Kaczynski mailed bombs to the universities and airlines, killing 3 people and injuring 23 more. He targeted American Airlines with 2 bombs in 1976, and he failed to detonate on a flight in 1980, was sent to the company's president who had minor injuries after it exploded. He threatened media outlets like the New York Times to publish his so-called Unabomber manifesto, telling him he would blow up a plane if they failed to do so. His brother recognized the writing style and some of the ideas expressed as his brother's. After much deliberation and hiring a private detective to confirm his suspicions, in 1996, David shared his suspicions with the FBI. FBI agents arrested Kaczynski in 1996, and 2 years later he was sentenced to life in prison.
The next group that we will be talking about is the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party was founded in Oakland, California in 1966 by Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale. The goal of the party was to protect African American police actions of any blacks considered brutality. The Black Panthers support the use of guns for self-defense and to retaliate against people who believed in oppressing the poor. The party's basic problem with others was economic exploitation of black and whites by profit-seeking capitalists. The Black Panther Party took a stand against police brutality, went to urban neighborhoods where there were mostly white cops, and members of the group would watch for abuse in the streets and report them or come at the cops with violence. The Black Panther Party rejected mainstream movements with a nonviolent approach. During the group's somewhat heyday, the group's ideas turned reactionary suicidal. This was the start of the group's destruction, and people all along knew that it was going to end from the start of the group forming. Nelson found that the love for the BPP was the people that supported them and kept them going in the journey for equal rights against African Americans. Huey P. Newton was shot and killed on a street in Oakland, California on August 22, 1989, and this could have been considered an assassination. The Black Panther Party ultimately rejected mainstream movements with a nonviolent approach.
What we're talking about is the IRA. IRA is short for Irish Republican Army. The IRA's mission is to unite the 6 northeastern counties of Ireland, which are presently under British rule. The IRA dates back to 1916. A quote from Stephen Curry, who is the author of 20 books on multiple different topics, says, "The IRA does not try to promote a new form of government or try to push government leaders into becoming more liberal or conservative. Instead, the group defines itself as territorial and religious." The official IRA is one group who adopted non-violent measures. The second group is the provisional IRA that adopted more terrorist-like measures. The Irish Republican Army has members who have been elected to public office, and they have a voice in public political affairs.
The next group we will be focusing on is the New Left. The New Left is a group of college kids from the 1960s. They came from communist-like families and didn't want to follow in their parents' footsteps. They were called the New Left to show both the similarities and differences of their ideas with older socialist and communist ones. Its goal was to effect changes in the government policies around the world regarding issues such as war, feminism, and civil rights. Students for Democratic Society emerged as the best known of these groups and pressed for a more democratic government, nuclear arms reduction, and an end to the war in Vietnam, and better living conditions for the urban poor. The use of violence appeared in a small group of New Lefters called the Weathermen, who advocated armed revolution against American imperialism, usually in the form of random bomb explosions.
The next party we'll be talking about is the American Communist Party. This party was founded in 1919, and until the 1950s, it was one of the most important leftist organizations. And in 1942, it reached its membership peak of 85,000 people. This party was inspired by Russia's October Revolution and 2 other U.S. communist parties of the left wing of the Socialist Party of America. During the Great Depression, the CPUSA came out as militias, acting as a serving figure. At the time of the Great Depression, the party had a total of 18,000 members, and people that followed their group became 5 times bigger than the member total. Although this is a high number, it was considered weak to the amount of followers and members that they have had in the past. The party was partly also made to only survive political and governmental hostility. Although the party was legal, they were more of an underground party because they wanted to keep watch of federal spies. In 1922, members that were still in the party moved to the United Communist Party, and it was a combination of a Communist Labor Party and Communist Party of America. Some founders of the party are Jay Lovestone, Bertram Wolfe, Louis Farina, John Reed, and Benjamin Gitlow. These people were charged with advocating violence in communities, violence and unlawful means to overthrow the government. Overall, they had some weaknesses. They also had many pros during the Great Depression, but because of the American Communist Party, blacks became friends on the left side of the spectrum, and that made small steps to start moving poor black people to the north and south.
It is not a fact that these groups and leaders' opinions were wrong in their ways of violence and extreme measures, yet it is more of a personal opinion whether you think they were wrongful or correct in their methods. Thank you for tuning into our RTL program on Anarchists and Radicals.